Modern gaming has shifted away from player discovery, instead leaning toward telling players where to go. The modern mantra is to build impressively large worlds and make sure every single thing a development team has crafted appears on the world map or compass so none of their hard work has gone to waste. In some ways, this shift in focus makes sense. Hardware developments lead to larger worlds, and larger worlds require more effort to navigate than linear titles like Crash Bandicoot. As a result, developers created ways for us to navigate their landscapes, pointing us toward all of the interesting content they've designed. But somewhere along the way, we got a little lost. Nowadays, games are big because they can be. Designers are stuffing their worlds full of half-baked content to bump up their hour counts rather than justifying these efforts. To prove that they spent all this time making things, they're showing you exactly how to get to each piece of content. But revealing everything fails to instill the sense of awe and wonder that developers are certainly going for. It instead makes games feel like a checklist. While there's a time and place for that style of play, exceptions like Elden Ring prove that letting us loose in a world is the superior way to evoke emotion in most cases. Like, yes, Gorilla, this towering beast you've built in Horizon is awesome, but you marked it on the map a long time ago. I already knew it was there, and I promise you I would have found such a massive creation at some point without you telling me about it. The surprise is a little ruined. And I can say this for a fact, as running into the walking mausoleums in Elden Ring is a comparable activity with immensely more satisfying results. It was a complete surprise, but games don't always have to lean so far on one side of the spectrum. We can have enjoyable non-linear experiences that guide a player without revealing everything through a compass or minimap, while also ensuring they're not completely blind while playing. A perfect example of this is in BlueTwelve Studio and Annapurna's recent release, Stray. If you haven't heard, Stray is a game where you play as a cat. Not a two-legged talking cat, nor a warrior cat, but a typical house cat. One that moves and acts exactly as you'd expect them to based on real-life experience. Furniture destruction and all. And as you may know, cats are graceful and agile beings. Most of the time. They can jump to and perch on even the thinnest of ledges, they always land on their feet, and they do a great job at garnering affection, even from non-humans. In Stray, you are capable of all of these things, but you're not able to jump freely. Instead, you can only jump to predetermined spots marked by the jump button. That pipe over there, you can only jump to it if the designers programmed that in ahead of time. There's no jump in this game you can make that they didn't plan out. This design might seem limiting at first, and I saw some light contention about it upon the game's release, but I think this is a brilliant middle ground in guiding the player along that larger game developers can learn from. Imagine if you could freely jump between all the barrels floating in this lake. More often than not, you'd miss a jump, and getting through this area would be an annoying case of trial and error. That's called complexity for complexity's sake, and it doesn't respect your time. But the answer to this navigational conundrum isn't to add a compass or a minimap. Instead, Stray emphasizes the game's environment as it shepherds you along. Part of the gameplay loop is figuring out which pipes, ledges, barrels, cages, and rooftops you can jump to that will lead you toward progressing the main plot, and which will lead you towards the game's various sets of collectibles. Not all jumps lead somewhere important, though many of them do, but you'll only find out if you literally take that leap. To assist you, certain environmental elements, such as vents, are walled off with spikes, preventing any attempts to break the game or to enter areas you shouldn't, while also serving as a natural guide. This extra focus on the environment also makes it feel like these are areas you couldn't access even if you could jump freely. And that's an excellent way to immerse the player and prevent us from feeling like we're missing out by limiting our capabilities. You can only jump this way not because the developer said so, but because the world dictates it. Stray isn't telling you where to go on a minimap or a compass. Figuring out the right direction is entirely up to you, but the game is telling you where you can go in the moment, removing the question of if you can jump up to certain buildings or areas, assisting you along the way rather than pointing directly where to go. It's a method of keeping us thinking while playing, while also making animations smoother and more realistic, instead of animating dozens of missed jumps, slip-ups, or death sequences. Stray is about 40% non-linear exploration and 60% linear levels. Its lack of hand-holding during the linear areas makes them feel a bit more open. You'll see what looks like other trails during the game's various chase sequences, and these are often areas you can actually explore. But only one way is the right way, and paying attention to the environment is what will lead you there. Then we have the actual open areas, which are a lot like Elden Rings in that people, or in this case robots, tell you where to go, and you have to remember what they said while figuring out how to get there. Locked out of the club? Find a way in around the back. Is the right way jumping up this dumpster and onto this rooftop, or is it through this pipe on the other side of the way? One of these paths will eventually take you the right way, but you might find a collectible or two via the side paths. Again, you're guided by the jumping prompts, so this isn't a directionless task, but it's one that doesn't remove all of your agency, and I love that. Providing these open areas is providing a form of freedom in where to go, but it's one that doesn't take away from the experience like a bloated open world does, which would also be the case here if you could jump anywhere you wanted. Sure, Stray isn't an open world game, but that's not the point. The point is to design worlds that cater to organic navigation. I'm not saying release The Witcher 3 without a minimap. I'm saying there needs to be a balance. Make a more detailed map that I can mark if I see something interesting. Explore methods like Ghost of Tsushima's guiding wind mechanic. Use distinct colors to point players in the right direction, or find a way to influence the player with the environment in a single interaction like in Stray. Of course, Stray isn't the only game to execute on this method of letting the player loose. The keycards in the classic Doom games are a great example of this. The map doesn't show you where keycards are, even if it does show you where to use them, but that's okay. The challenge was in finding the collectible, and even if the map is telling you where to use that collectible, you still have to walk through that door to figure out your next steps. The game isn't holding your hand with a waypoint available at all times, but instead it's giving you tips. The same goes for the classic Resident Evil games with their card suit shaped keys that correlate to certain doors highlighted on the map. You don't know where to find the keys, but you'll at least know where you can use them. You don't know where to jump in Stray, but you at least know where you can jump thanks to the button prompt and the environmental guidance. The sense of mystery and challenge is preserved, and that's the best way to create an engaging and memorable gameplay experience. Props to Stray and the team at BlueTwelve Studio. I can't wait to see what they come up with next.